Okay guys, so I wanted to just make a video of the last few examples here for you so that you are able to do your homework and hopefully you understand what's going on with section 2.5. Very, very important section for the rest of the chapter. Okay, so example 3a we did together in class. Let's do 3b, and it says factor the polynomial completely by using the given factor. So here's a given factor. So what I showed you in class is you take the factor and you set it equals to 0 and solve for x, so you get -4. Okay? Because synthetic division requires you to divide by the number that I get after solving this for x. Okay? So if the factor is x minus 2, I do synthetic division with x equals 2. Any case, so that's what I'm doing here. The factor is x plus 4. I divide by -4, so I put -4 out here. And then make sure again that these exponents are all in decreasing order and that nothing is missing. Every exponent of x is represented. And that includes numbers. There must be a constant term. Okay, otherwise you put 0 into the synthetic division problem. So write down the coefficients. Let me zoom in here. So 3, -16, -103, 36, and then bring this down. You get 3. This is multiplication again, so I get -12. Add down, so I get -28. Multiply this. -4 times -28 is 112. Add down, so I get 9. Then multiply -4 times 9. And I get -36, then add down, and I get 0. Well, I had to get 0 since I was told this is a factor of the polynomial, this polynomial. When I do synthetic division, my remainder must be 0. That's what the factor theorem told us. If something is a factor of a polynomial, and I do synthetic division or long division, or the equivalent operation is substitution, I get 0. Okay, and so what I have here now, that we were talking about earlier too, is that now my polynomial started as a cubic. Now my new polynomial I obtained here is a quadratic polynomial, 3x squared minus 28x plus 9. Okay, and if I want to factor this, I have to keep writing f of x equals, and here is the factor I was given. This is the factor I was given. So x plus 4 times the polynomial I obtained after dividing by that factor. Now, this is a pattern that's going to hold true for the rest of this chapter. When you factor or when you do synthetic division, you're very often going to come up with something that you do know how to factor already. This is a quadratic polynomial. We know how to factor that already. That was the whole topic of chapter 1. So 3x times x would give me x squared. And then 9 is 3 and 3. 9 and 1. Factors of 9, 3 and 3. Or 9 and 1. But I can see I have to get -28. So if I do 3 times 3, I get 9 plus 3. That can't work. It must be this. And 3 times 9 is 27. And then if I make both of them negative, if you try and FOIL this, it works. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times -9, -27x, minus 1x plus 9. And so you can see this middle term is that middle term. So everything worked out perfectly there. So I was able to factor this properly. So this is the answer to the question. Okay, do a synthetic division using the factor they give you, and then use that factor here times the result after division, which is this polynomial. Write it as a polynomial and then try and factor that. And that's the answer. That's the whole factored polynomial. Okay, and that's a very complicated polynomial actually to factor. You've never been able to do something like this before. All right, so you factored a very complicated polynomial. Now we're going to use that same idea here. You're given a factor, and then it says solve or not solve the equation, means it says find the zeros of the function. Okay, so solve the equation gives me x equals, find the zeros gives me x equals. Similar process but different terminology. And so if I'm going to do this, same idea. What you do is basically say I'm going to do the same thing I did up here, except I'm not going to stop when I factor it. I'm going to actually use the zero product property to find the values of x. Okay, so same idea. I'm going to take this, but now notice the difference. Here they gave me a factor. Here they're telling me x is 3. Okay, so that would be the same as giving me the factor x minus 3. And if you solve that, you get x is 3. So just notice these two things are slightly different. Now here, since I have x equals 3, I can just immediately write it over here. I don't have to go solve it first. It's already been done for me. And then find the zeros means just go all the way. Factor and then set it equal to 0 using zero product property and find the solutions or the zeros of the function. And so now again, make sure that your exponents are all there, represented in decreasing order, x to the 0, x to the 1, they're all there. So I just bring down the coefficients. Okay, and then I do this, 3 times 1 is 3. Add down, you get 1, 3 times 1 is 3. Add down, you get negative 20, 3 times negative 20 is negative 60. Add down and you get 0. So here's my polynomial, x squared plus 1x minus 20. And if I want to write that as the function factored, I put this factor, well, that's x minus 3, that's my factor, I put it here. Okay, and then I factor this. Now how does this factor? Pretty nicely. X, and negative 20 becomes positive 5 minus 4. So there I factored it completely, but the question was find the zeros. So I have to go further. So I have to say x minus 3 equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0, or x minus 4 equals 0. And therefore x is 3, or x is negative 5, or x is 4. Okay? This is the solution. All right, same thing here. Let's just continue. X equals 8. X equals 8. It's already done for me. I put the 8 here. Check that there are no gaps in the powers. There aren't any, so I just do 15, negative 119. My little upside down division is too small, minus 10, 16. Okay, and so now again I bring down the 15. 8 times 15 is 120. Add these two down, that gives me 1. 8 times 1 is 8. Add these two down, that gives me negative 2. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. Add them down, that gives me 0. So again, that shows me that this is a factor, right? I have to get 0. I have to get 0 as the remainder if something is a factor. And then what I have now is f of x equals this factor, so x equals 8. If I take the 8 over, that's x minus 8 equals 0. So this is my factor, x minus 8 times, and then I use the 15, x squared plus 1x minus 2. Okay, since this is a third power, this is going to be a squared power right here, and this is going to be a first power, and that will have power x to the 0. Okay, and so there's my new polynomial. So now try and factor this, x minus 8, and this might be tricky. Let's see, 1 and 2, so I can put 2 and 1. Okay, and then 15, I'm supposed to get a 1 in the middle, so 15, 3 and 5, that looks right. 5 and 3 looks like those are the two numbers that'll work. So 5x and 3x. So 5x times 3x is 15x squared plus 5x minus 6x, no, plus minus, like this. Okay, so there's my factored form. And then I just say x minus 8 is 0. And then 5x plus 2 equals 0. And 3x minus 1 is 0. And you just solve all of that for x. And you get negative 2/5. And x is 1/3. Okay? And so there are all the zeros of the function. All right, guys, I hope that helped you